Welcome back, all my 40k fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation to bring you another Warhammer 40k battle report. Today, Lane is bringing back his DeathWatch, as he's been just on a Marine kick lately.
No, I love my wall. I mean, first of all, I have them. I have so many of them. I might as well play them. But after trying Iron Hands a couple times, I think going back to my DeathWatch, they're my true love. So these are actual DeathWatch today.
Right on, right on. And I'll be bringing the better of the Marine choices. Actually, I can't even say that. We're not Marines. We're Adeptus Sanctus. I get to say that now because there's been some jokes with that. But no, hopefully we'll be seeing the Votan back here soon. And I know next week we will be seeing the Death Guard for our Halloween special.
Spooky.
Ooh, spooky games. Now, today, though, we are doing something a little bit interesting. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. This isn't just a game on the channel. There's actually
real.
This is real. This is for all the marbles. No, but this is actually, for your purposes, a test into a lot of stuff. And after discussing it with some of the different units, Grey Knights fit into this mold to be able to test out what you've done with your army in a lot of ways, to see if certain things you could put in there, don't have in there, might have, like kind of a balancing aspect.
Yeah, it's really testing this list and how it will function after we lost the Oath of Moment wound rerolls and with some of the point changes. Certain things that I've used in the past in this edition have really relied on those wound rerolls to make them work.
Right.
Early in 10th edition, I took a lot of Cyclone missile launchers on Terminators. They were great because I could use the strat to increase their AP from 2 to 3 and use the Hail Strike Speeder to increase that to AP 4. And then I could reroll all wounds because they're only strength 9, so they could hurt vehicles really well.
And just pick a target and pick it off the table.
Yeah, and we've lost the wound rolls. We've lost the using strats on the missiles, and we've lost the Hail Strike's ability to affect affect vehicles and monsters. So a lot of things have changed.
Alrighty. Well, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. Turn on the bell for notification. Get notified on all the content we bring you here on the channel, including our spooky matchup next week. And like we said, some more just competitive content and some silly lists and stuff like that. I got more centipedes on the way.
Okay.
But before we get into that part, let's talk about the list that we're going to be bringing today. So, Lane, what is the new DeathWatch looking like?
All right, I don't know how much of this list is new because some of these are old favorites, but I am trying out some new things that I haven't used a lot in 10th edition. So we have, for our characters, 5 characters. This is way too many characters for me. I usually don't run this many, but we got 3 Apothecary Biologi, 1 Grav Captain with a multi-melta, or not a multi-melta, with a Mastercrafted Bolt Rifle, and of course the Calidus Assassin. I've got enhancements of Tome of Ectoclades on the Captain that lets me reroll hits and wounds against 1 target once per game in addition to my Oath of Moment. I've got the Beacon Angelus on one of the Apothecaries, the one that's going to be riding with the Eradicator, so they will be able to deep strike during the game. And then I have Thief of Secrets on one of the other Apothecaries, represented by the classic metal model with the Chainsword. I've got 2 Indomitor kill teams. These are identical in the way they're built. We got 2 Bolter Inceptors, 2 Bolter Aggressors, 1 multi-melta Eradicator. In the actual unit, there are regular melta rifles, but I'm using them as multi-meltas today. Then we've got 5 heavy intercessors, 2 of which have heavy bolters. And then we've got 2 squads of plasma inceptors. Their ability is to deep strike just outside of 3 inches, so they can score and actually hit pretty hard as well. They're twin links, so they get to reroll all their wounds. Then we've got 2 of the Gladiator Lancers. These guys can reroll a hit, wound, and damage roll, so they don't need Oath as much. And then we've got 1 squad of Eradicators, 6-man squad with 2 multi-meltas. We've got 2 speeders. We've got the Thunderstrike Speeder and the Stormstrike Speeder that will both give my army +1 to wound against vehicles and monsters, and also the other one will allow me to ignore cover. DJ, what are you bringing today?
All right, so the Grey Knights are coming back, and a couple changes from my last list. More or less, I'm increasing my Dread Knight count. So we got 3 Nemesis Dread Knight, 2 with Hammer, 1 with Sword. We have a Land Raider, because he has been a champion of the Silver, and he's coming back. 2 5-mans of the Strike, 1 of which will be joined by my Servitors, as well as my Tech Marine with the Sigil of Exigence. A 10-man squad of Purifiers that will be led by Castle and Crow. 2 5-man squad of Interceptors, because they're quick and crafty. And a 5-man squad of Terminators who, well, they're objective control 3, and they like to just be big, mean, and hold on to objectives and that sort. Alrighty. So, those are our lists. Now, one of the things I was saying is what's interesting about this matchup and what we're doing today. Last week, after our game, me and you were talking a little bit, and you were talking about your competitive DeathWatch. And you had mentioned that one of the things that you were interested in per se is that the fact that you do have the ability to cleave tougher targets, being custodies and things like that, things with higher saves.
Mhm.
But with that Hail Strike Speeder, you're like, is it too much? And that was kind of the question we were proposing, which kind of formulated a little bit going into what this game is. A test to see, do you need that extra to go into it?
Yeah, well, I took the other speeder because it's 20 more points and allows me to ignore cover. And basically, in 10th edition, everything is cover all the time. So there may be times maybe times I don't need it. Maybe something is actually in the open, but its actual guns are better than the Hail Strike. The Hail Strike's actual guns, unless you're going to a horde of guys that only have 5 or 6 up saves, usually don't do much damage at all.
Right.
And these ones actually have some hitting power, so I'm excited to see if they actually do some work on their own in addition to giving out the buff.
Especially because of the exclusion of the whirlwinds. These things being, I know that fly is often the joke right now of 10th edition, but when you start getting units that have a higher move characteristic, fly can be relatively useful because now they're actually able to clear buildings.
Yeah, both speeders have a 14-inch move, so they're the fastest thing in my army. In addition to the fact that they actually give out some nice buffs and kind of hit hard on their own.
Right.
And they deep strike too, so I can get them where I need them.
That's been one thing you've loved about the speeders is the fact that they deep strike. Like every time you're talking about them, every time we talk about and they can deep strike.
I talk about it every time because I've played people that don't realize the speeders could do that because they couldn't do that in the past.
Yeah.
And so I have turned a few people onto the fact that, yeah, you can deep strike your speeders, which means you can get them right where you need them to actually give out the buffs you need them when you need them.
So going into this game, I want to talk about this a little prelude into this because this is a competitive style game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we walk up to the table, we approach this, we see what the mission is, we know what we're doing, and now we have the mental mindset of, okay, how do I want to play this mission? So for me, looking at your list, I realize that your list does have the capability of nearly, if not tabling me. So how do I get around that? Well, there's 2 things I'm immediately thinking about right off rip. Number 1, I need to make sure that I'm keeping a small amount of resources to keep scoring points late into the game. The closer I can get to that 90 to 95 point threshold, the better chance I have of winning the game, because I figure by the end of it, aside from tabling you, which is highly unlikely, I'm just saying that as that aspect of removing your resources entirely, I'm expecting you to be in the 80s for your points, no matter where. So in order for me to win this game, I feel like I have to get into 90-plus point column to win this game. I feel like there is opportunity, especially with this mission, and we'll talk about that in a minute, where I could possibly keep you away from that 90 threshold. But that means I have to get into the 90 threshold in that time frame. The second thing is the more silly, goofy answer to it all is score 20 points in the first 2 turns and then go for a gambit, which, as seen on camera, Grey Knights can do it.
I mean, everybody knows if you want to watch someone try to do a gambit, watch Tim's Nation's battle reports because that's the only place I've ever seen one happen.
Brought to you here first. And it's successful, but that is a possibility where I can pull that out late game to be able to do that, especially if you do pummel my resources back and prevent me from getting on points, because you do have some larger units than I have, which means that your objective control value is going to be significantly higher than me on the objectives, and we only have 4 objectives in this mission, which again, we'll talk about in a little bit later. Now for you, you're going into the Grey Knights, you know these things that you've played against me before, you've played against these tricks, and regardless of all that stuff, you know I can pick up and move around the table very, very efficiently and score points. You as well can pick up and move around the table as well efficiently, not necessarily for scoring points, but more for a removal basis. What kind of goes into your mind as far as setting up and going into this game?
Well, a couple things. I've got the Calidus Assassin, which is great because she has lone operative. But against Grey Knights have the ability to drop in. For 1 CP, you can drop in just 3 inches away. But even just a regular deep strike 9 inches away puts you within 12 inches. And you can put a ton of fire into her and pick her up and get rid of her. So I want to protect her early game and try to actually use the strategy, the ability to make your stratagems more expensive quickly because she might not last very long.
Now, one thing I do want to bring up real quick, though, is although Armor of Contempt is a stratagem that can be targeted and zero out, True Silver Armor is not.
What are your battle tactic strats?
I think the only one that I have, and I'll double check, is the one that gives me devastating wounds. on a unit in combat.
I'll probably just
And
do CP reroll because you're probably going to be doing a lot of 9-inch charges, making a lot of 9-inch charge rolls.
That's a good one.
So first time you do that in my pop at. So we'll see. We'll see.
There you go.
And then the other thing is I'm worried about your purifiers because they do hit infantry very hard. And I want to make sure that I don't lose an entire kill team right away to them. So I'm going to try to play a little defensively until either you bring them in and I can hit them, or we'll see how it plays. But
yeah, because I do knock away that T6 buff.
Because they're just anti-infantry 4-up. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter how tough my Gravis armor guys are. You're going to have lots of shots going into them. So I want to play defensively against that. And I don't want to get tank shocked by your Nemesis Dread Knights because they're the worst.
They're the best around. Nothing's ever going to bring them down. Hopefully.
No. Well,
Hopefully.
I mean, I'll bring them down, but I just try to avoid getting brought down myself.
Exactly. So I just finished cleaning up this table. We switched over battle mats so the models can be seen better on the table. We had a couple people mention that. I thought it was just me because of editing the videos. I thought my eyes were just going bleh. But other people had mentioned that too. So we switched over to a brighter mat, went back to the beige one because that one, the model seemed to pop really nice off of. So we went back to that, measured everything out, went over to Games Workshop Terrain Deployment number 2, if you're curious on where the concept came from. And I measured everything out. I'm not about hitting it with the dice and rolling it around. So today, instead, I'm going to flip this dice around my back. Everyone can see here. I'm flipping it around, flipping it around, rolling it around. And now I have it in my hand. I have it in my hand where I'm on my palm, where I'm going to place it directly on the table. You just tell me odd or even, and then I will put it on the table.
Surprise, surprise, even.
Even it is odd. All right, so this is always the most important, considering especially the fact that 50% of my army isn't even getting deployed. So, Lane, you can deploy first, and then I'll decide which 50% of my army I don't want to deploy.
Sounds good.
And we'll be back after deployment. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's get ready to rumble. Lane, what are we doing?
I think that's copyrighted, my man. I don't think you can actually say that. Anyways, today our deployment is sweeping engagement. I don't know what the kids are calling this. Is this like croissant or pizza slices or something?
I don't know.
We seem to be assigning food to the deployments. But anyways, sweeping engagement. Our mission special rule is chilling rain. We are completely in power armor, so that does not bother us at all. So it'll have no effect on the game. Primary mission is a vital ground. In this one, we remove the objective from the center. So there's no objective in the center, just 2 in no man's land. Each turn, you score 2 points for holding your deployment zone, 5 points for each one you control in no man's land, and 6 points if you control your opponents.
Now, before we get into this, I want to talk a little bit about the terrain real fast. Lane, if you wouldn't mind being the pointer for me on this. So looking at some of the middle terrain, these pieces of runes. So all of these, we have determined that even though you may not see windows, there's only like a little door right here on this one right there.
Orcs don't like windows.
Yeah, even though, so we're assuming that the panels fall off, they open away. So all of the pieces in the center, once you touch them, you are able to see through and be shot through, but you are provided cover. There is no first floor blocking line of sight.
So that's these 4 big pieces here.
Correct.
And this is considered one piece of terrain. So you can't see through this until you actually touch into it.
Correct. And I'm using the plastic plates on these ones too to help us for that because it's such a weird shape. Now, as far as these ones on the outside, like this one that lanes in here right here where that little gravity claw is, these are all first floor blocking runes. So we cannot see into the first floor. This may be something that you see typically at a lot of tournaments where they do the corner runes as complete line of sight blocking for that reason, just to allow you to be able to set up some defensive points. So the 4 in the corners will be treated that same way, where the first floor will block line of sight and is assuming to be 5 inches tall, even if it may not be, it's 5 inches tall for all intensive purposes.
So I cannot see these Terminators.
Correct. Those Terminators cannot be seen because that wall is infinitely high, blah, 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 those things. But for our purpose, it looks really cool. So you can just assume the Terminators, they're completely laying on their bellies. And that goes same true over here. For Lane's guys right there, they're not able to be seen, even though we can see them. And this is just because you have to remember, in all intents and purposes, this is a game. So sometimes we need to modify some of the rules a little bit for it. Epic foreshadowing for next week's game. Sometimes you got to modify things a little bit. You know, if we just use nothing but straight flat blocks to cover all these pieces in that way, we wouldn't get this awesome looking terrain that Lane has made. All right, so let's talk about deployment. For me, I found a corner and hit it. So we got the Land Raider back here. He's able to move up and touch that piece of terrain and then shoot right through it because, like we just said, you get to see through. He can be shot as well, but at least he's safe for the first turn. It's a nice place to start him on. Inside, he's going to have a squad of interceptors. So I have the ability to get out, shoot, scoot, move, and they have quite a bit of a move to be able to possibly get to either one of those corners for engage on all fronts and other little special things that we can do over the course of the game. Mr. Tech Marine is back here with the strike, so I can pick them up on turn 1 if I go second. And then we have the Terminators and the Nemesis Dread Knight hanging out back here. We're ready to roll and ready to start rocking. All right, Mr. Lane, why don't you talk to me about what you got going on over here?
Well, similar to you, I've got a big chunk of my army in Deep Strike. I think I got about 800, maybe 850 points.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Before we skip completely away from mine, Purifiers, 1 5-man Interceptor, 1 5-man Strike, and 2 Dread Knights are in Deep Strike. Yeah. Back to you, Lane.
Yeah, I've got the 2 Speeders, the 2 Inceptor squads, and the Eradicators in Deep Strike as well. We got Lancers out on the table, ready to move forward a little bit, and my kill teams are hiding back here because I'm going to be using the Teleportarium strat to get them in the location rather than having them run across the table trying to shoot stuff.
And it looks like your Gladiator is imitating my Land Raider with similar concepts.
Yeah, whatever you can do, we can do better. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, yeah. I get 4 las cannons, and you get 2 that hit a lot more accurately. All right, so only thing left for us really is to determine who is going to go first. So, Lane, what are you feeling? You want to go first or second?
I don't know. I probably want to go second. Just so maybe you poke your head out a little bit.
Oh, I definitely would love to go second.
If I go first, then you get to teleport around turn 1, too. So here we go.
5. Well, looks like the Grey Knights will be going first. Lane, you got any scout moves?
No.
I do, but I don't think I'm going to do them. So, all right. We will be back after Grey Knight turn 1. And just like that, the Grey Knight turn 1 is over. So, one of the things about Grey Knights is we want to go second so we can pick stuff up and do other things. So we didn't really do very much, but set up for the future. So I got Tempting Target and bring it down as my secondary. So the Interceptors got out of the Land Raider, moved 12 inches, disembarked 3, and advanced for the Auto 6 because we're Grey Knights. And this was the Tempting Target, and we got it. And now they're going to die. As for everything else, just kind of stayed back. I didn't want to get aggressive and move anything out and give Lane the ability to just hit me with the Gladiators like right off rip. Land Raiders kind of is I'm probably gonna lose it to the Gladiators, so I just don't want to completely get hit too early. And I'm banking on the fact that I don't think Lane will pick up his entire army on the first turn and spend the command points on it. I think that he's going to hold it back. That question's going to be answered shortly. So for my turn, I will score 5 points on Tempting Targets and call it a turn. So now the question, Lane, do you have any responses to my end of turn? I know it's tough because it's like, do you want to spend the command points to pick them up before I brought my Dread Knights down and then expose them with 2 Dread Knights coming out of reserve? But at the same time, too, you can get some board positioning. It's just, is that worth it right now? Is it worth that command point?
You know what?
Yes.
Yeah. We'll do it.
All right. So Lane's going to spend the command point, and he's picking up what?
Just
2?
the 1.
Just the 1?
Just the 1.
Just
I don't think I
erect.
need 2 because
I think you're just going to go for some board positioning more than anything else.
He's got 2 up armor. What's his toughness?
10. I have to double check that. But I mean, you're looking at like lethal hits and stuff.
Yeah.
Remember, you'll have to be 9 inches away from these guys as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I can do that.
Okay.
And I can shoot him. You know what? Let's go for it. Let's not be cautious. I'm gonna pick up both squads, and we're gonna try to kill everybody.
All right, so Lane is going to pick up both units, and we'll be back after Lane's movement phase.
All right, my kiddos. Putting it all on the line here, try and kill a couple things. I don't think it was a great idea, especially with the 2 up armor out there. It's not real swell, but we'll see if we can kill a couple things. First off, my secondaries.
Wait, there's something very important that I must bring up. Number 1, I did look it up. The Dread Knight is toughness 8. And even more importantly, and people can cite this who might have better look on copyright law, I was looking it up, and I am actually allowed to say, let's get ready to rumble, as long as I'm not trying to make money doing so. So if there's anyone else in there who knows more about copyright law as far as it, because I like that phrase and that sounds like fun, please advise me on how that works. All right, and now back to our game.
Back to the 40K. So I picked up both my kill teams. So drop this one in here to try and put some work into the Nemesis Dread Knight. We'll see how that goes. I don't think I'm actually going to do anything. In retrospect, this may have been a mistake, but and put this kill team in here to put some work into these guys as well. So moved the Calidus, jumped into the middle here because I pulled area denial, and I also have no prisoners, so I'm going to try to kill 2 units. And then the gladiators, one gladiator moved up to get on the objective, and then the other one is securing my my deployment zone objective, because DJ can deep strike just outside of 3 inches, same as I can. So I made sure if he deep struck outside of 3 inches, he would not be able to be on that objective. All right, I'm going to shoot. We'll see if anything happens, and then I'll be back. As I feared, I was not able to kill the Nemesis Dread Knight. He is down to 5 wounds. That's nice. It makes it a little bit easier for me to work on, just finish him off eventually. Because DJ, I did the extra AP, so a lot of my bolters are coming in AP too, but DJ got cover, and he did true silver armor, so that means he was still making 2-up saves for everything except the Melta. So he rolled a couple ones for me on a couple of the 2 damage weapons, but that's really it. We picked up the interceptors.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, they went pretty quick.
Oh, very quickly.
Picked them up, scored 5 points for area denial, 2 points for no prisoners, and that's about it. On to DJ's turn 2.
So no, the game is not mirrored. I just picked everything up, and we decided to kind of trade sides. So for my turn, I drew no prisoners and defend stronghold. Which right now I do control this because it's sticky because of Marines, but that's not going to last long because Lane, at the speed of an instant, rapid ingress for free with his Eradicators. And they are currently 9 inches away from my Land Raider. They're going to attempt to incinerate next turn.
Yeah, it is free because the enhancement on the biologist, apothecary biologist, lets them rapid ingress and deep strike for free. Right
on. So for me, I went all the way over here and tried to hit on this side because I want to take these Gladiator Lancers out or beat them up as bad as I can. So I brought all 3 Nemesis Dread Knights in over here. And I also brought in my Interceptors and my Strike back over here. The plan with the Interceptors is that I was going to try to shoot and then move forward with them to prevent the Eradicators from coming in within 9 to be able to draw easy lanes onto my Dread Knight battalion over here. Lane opted to go the other side of the field and Hail Mary to murder my Land Raider, which most likely will occur. So that is roughly it. I probably will not be able to keep my stronghold, but we are going to go over into the shooting phase and see if we can't try and pick up some of these gladiators and do some damage over here. Oh, and Terminators are over here too. It's kind of snag a charge on that objective.
You're going to have a lot of 9 inches here, so I'm sure you'll get 1 or 2 of them off.
Yeah, well, here's hoping. All right, time to shoot. All right, so the Land Raider is not going to be going out in a glory. He is going to be getting picked up by the Melta, and the most he did was pick up one little itty-bitty guy out of here. Probably not even the dude. He was the guy that got picked up from the practice squad. Oh, Land Raider, we knew ye well. But
that's actually great that you did that, because now this unit gets +1 to hit because they're below full strength. Thanks, DJ.
No problem. So now over here, though, things went a little bit better.
I am missing a Gladiator.
Yes, and I'm happy that that's gone. So we got rid of one. Wasn't able to take the objective, but there was really no way aside from landing a 9-inch charge. And I really didn't want to focus on that as much as I want to be over here. So we beat this one up. It's got 5 wounds left, and we have 2 9-inch charge targets. So we're going to try and see if we can't do that. We do have a command point to go for a reroll, so we do have the ability to possibly make that charge and land it. So that's our hopes, because if we can pick that one up, then that will leave Lane at a 0 on primary, which he's going to spade me back on that one, but I'll be happy to get that 0 for right now on primary for Lane. So, all right, let's wish me luck, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll come back, and that vehicle will be in combat with something. And sadly, no. Even a command point wasn't enough to help us get in there. So The glass gladiator, I like it, lives, and we will get only 2 points on no prisoners. And we'll kick this over to Lane and see what the DeathWatch can answer back with.
I'm going to spend a CP.
Ooh.
Pick up both my kill teams.
Alrighty, let's see how this rolls.
DJ has jumped into my deployment zone in the previous turn, but we are here to make him pay for it. So basically, I moved this gladiator up a little bit so that he can count for my secondaries. I got engage in all fronts, and I got tempting target. DJ picked this one. No, he picked this one as my tempting target. Because I had a lot of movement options. At the end of my last turn, I picked up both kill teams and the Callous Assassin. So I only scored 5 points on primary because I did hold this objective. But now we're going to try and do a little bit more work here. So the Gladiator moved up so he can take shots at this Nemesis Dread Knight. The Inceptors dropped in during their Deep Strike to pick up this Inceptor, or to also put work into him. For as far as my targets, I chose this guy here, this Nemesis Dread Knight, as my Oath of Moment, and this Nemesis Dread Knight as my Tome of Ectoclades. I'm going to try to pick up all 3 Nemesis Dread Knights with all these guys. We brought both kill teams here. We brought the speeder. Which speeder is this? This is the speeder that lets me ignore cover. So this is the Storm Speeder Hammer Strike. Sorry. The Hammer Strike is here, so he can let me ignore cover because these guys are going to get cover over here. The Calidus jumped onto this objective, so I got this objective. The Eradicators scooched up, so now they're in Melta range, and now we're going to just fry this thing, especially because the other speeder jumped in here, and this speeder is the one that gives me +1 to wound against vehicles and monsters. Going to make sure the Land Raider disappears. And that's it. I brought a whole bunch of work in here. And then DJ also decided to rapid ingress with the Purifiers. These guys will wreck one of my kill teams once they move in there and can do the shooting. And that's it. My goal is to basically wipe all the vehicles off the table, pick up all 3 Nemesis Dread Knights, and pick up the Land Raider. That's a very ambitious goal, guys. But I want you to think for a second, pause the video for a second, and place your bets. Am I going to be able to kill all 3 of these? Probably not, but we're going to go for it.
All right, so Lane's got some crafty little tricks up his sleeve over here that we're going to talk about, and how he's hoping that his weapons can take out this Land Raider. I don't know. Lane, what do you think you got going on?
You said hoping with like quotation marks there, as if oh man, maybe we'll get this. No, this is my plan to destroy this thing. So a couple things going on. First of all, we have our Eradicators, a 6-man breath of Eradicators, 2 multi-meltas in there, and then the Apothecary Biologists that have the enhancement that lets them deep strike, and they got to rapid ingress for free. So they rapid ingress the last turn. Now they moved within Melta range, so their damage is bumped up.
But Lane, Melta's only wound on 5s. I'll be safe.
But I also dropped in the Thunderstrike Storm Speeder there. So once he hits the Land Raider, I'll get +1 to wound against that vehicle for the rest of the shooting. So yeah, the Eradicators will be wounding on 4s. They're going to reroll all hits, wounds, and damage because they're Eradicators and it's a vehicle. And the Apothecary makes some lethal hits. And I popped off my sustained hits for the whole army for DeathWatch this turn. So we're going to make some. We're going to make the Land Raider go.
Well, the Land Speeder's got to hit me first.
Yep. Good thing it hits on 2s, most of his guns. So we're going to start with the Storm Fury missile off the Thunderstrike. It hits on 2s. It hits. Strength 12, so wounds you on 4. Oh,
nope, but it hit. So that's all that matters.
I got 2 Las Talons. Okay, so 1 misses. But I get lethal.
He doesn't get
lethal. He gets sustained. So that's 2 hits. And then I need 5 to wound you. No wounds there. And then D3 shots from the Icarus. 1. It wounds you. No, it hits you.
No, it hits, though.
It does sustain.
Sustained.
And these are twin links, so they do reroll. Still nothing. So, oh no, it's going so poorly. But now my Eradicators are going to get +1 to hit on that thing.
I feel like this would be a proper point to insert some like epic shark music. Here
come the Eradicators. So these are the multi-meltas. These guys are hitting on 4 because they are heavy. Rerolling all hits. Okay, so we got 3 hits. Wounding on 4s.
Because of the +1 from the...
Yep. Just 2, but it's AP4. You're going to need 6s.
All right, and I'm not true silvering, so... Taking 1. Taking them both. Uh-oh. That's,
I get to reroll my damage for free because the Eradicators
11
plus 4. So 15.
All right. He's still alive with 1 wound
Regular
left.
melter rifles. Rerolling.
And that's a sustained hit there. Oh, no.
So we got 2 sustained and then 2 lethal. So these are lethals. Boop. And these are sustained.
Yep.
So we got 3 wound rolls we're going to do
By
here.
Land
4s.
Raider.
Oh, there we go. 5 of them, sir.
Show me 5, 6. 5, 6.
Show me
like
less
nothing.
than 5,
5,
6s.
6 is like nothing.
Oh.
Not even, can't even buy a 6.
Here
Let's
we
see,
go.
what's the damage?
Let's throw the damage. I get to reroll my wound rolls or damage rolls. So 12. 17 plus another 6 is 23 plus 10 is 33 more damage.
Plus the 15 from a 4.
Plus
so you're looking at a grand total of 48 damage.
It might be overkill, but I feel good about it.
All right, let's see if he explodes. No,
there we go.
Can't even blow up for me. Shame.
Oh, guys, I was so close. Remember I called my shot? I was going to pick up all 4 vehicles. We've got 1 Nemesis Dread Knight left with 1 wound left. I did pick up the other 2 Nemesis Dread Knights in just a very lucky shot. The first one I popped, he did blow himself up. He did explode, and so he did do 3 mortals to that dread, which helped me pick up the other Nemesis Dread Knight. Made my job a little bit easier. Of course, in the dice rolls you saw, the Eradicators really hit the Land Raider pretty hard. So yeah, that's where we're at the end of my turn. No room for charges anywhere. So DJ is going to get a little angry and come back at me. He still has lots of viable assets, but I did score both engage in all fronts and tempting targets for a full 5 on each of those. So things are going well. We'll see how DJ slaps me back.
So as Lane continues to be a bully, I'm going to try and bully him back. So we did not move this Dread Knight at all in any way, shape, form imaginable, so he didn't get overwatched and can at least shoot. That 3 damage gun, he could pick up some of these plasma inceptors pretty easily. And then I also have these Terminators back here that are staying outside the building so that they're able to still shoot because there's an L shape that blocked me on the first floor line of sight. But then I can later on in the turn charge and try and finish off this Gladiator. Now, as far as over here with some other little stuff, we moved the Tech Marina and Company up to try to shoot at maybe the speeder and maybe the guys, and then maybe rush in there on a charge to get on that objective. And we'll test these guys' worth as Castle and Crow and his purifiers are moving up and in range for everything. So they're going to be unleashing absolute fury on that squad. The last of my drop-ins is my interceptors over here, which there is an opening on this side, and they will be able to shoot the Calidus. Now, I do have Assassinate.
Well, so I don't think they'll... Oh, yeah, they'll be able to shoot him from there.
Yeah. And then they're going to move up onto the objective. So I do have Assassinate, so it'd be nice if I could pick that Calidus up. Probably not as much firepower as needed to get into that. So I may not actually do very well on secondaries this turn. I do have these guys back here that I dropped in that are going to score deploy teleport homers for me in Lane's deployment zone. So hopefully that will be a little bit better. So we'll see how this goes. It'll be an interesting turn. May the dice be with me. All right. So we had some success in some weird ways. So first of all, these guys over here, they were able to pick up that Calidus Assassin and then scooch up on the objective. So that'll be nice for multiple reasons. So we'll get some points on Assassinate. Over here, Purifiers did some work reducing the squad down in size. Now, granted, these guys are 3 wounds apiece in a T6, so there's a lot to chew through. And laying Armor of Contempted on these guys. So that was rough. But I was prepared for it. That's why I rapid ingress. So now we're able to charge. Over here, the strike... the strike didn't do too much. The story is all about those Melta servitors, which blasted through and basically by themselves picked up the speeder. And then over here, we got 1 little lone inner plasma inceptor left, and that's about it. It was a little combination of the Dread Knight and the Terminators. And now we're going to do some charges. So we'll come back and see what type of damage we can do and if we can make an impact in Lane's army. Sadly, these boys did not want to come to play and failed their charge. However, in other news, Purifiers, they just want the whole world. And they charged, then they consolidated, they brought the other squad in there. Lane can't fall back and shoot, so at least I'm tying him up and not getting completely obliterated for another round to give me another turn on this. Also, I was able to get a 5 on deploy teleport homers, as well as a 5 on assassinate, so 10 on secondaries for this turn. And I will be putting Lane at a... actually, Lane will be doing pretty well with primaries. I forgot about that. He does hold mine. So hopefully I can come back on primaries later into the game, as I am doing decent on getting... kind of maybe being able to take his home field objective at some point. Also, my Terminator's charged, and sadly, we're not able to finish off the Gladiator.
No, wait, the Gladiator
wound.
Gets to swing at you.
Oh, he does.
Oh, 2 hits.
Edar sustained.
Just 1 wound.
1 wound. Okay. And then as well, the Dread Knight saved. Finished off the last of the Plasma Inceptors over here. So now we're going to kick it over to Lane's turn. I'm not completely obliterated just yet. So we'll see what we can do. We'll see if my play works out, tying up those guys, and we'll see how this goes.
Not a whole lot of movement here, guys, because I'm kind of tied up with the Purifiers. So I got Storm, Hostile Objective, and Overwhelming Force. These are not great things for me. So my Inceptors just moved forward a little bit. So hopefully they can shoot this guy here and wreck him a little bit. And both these squads are tied up with the Purifiers, so we're going to have to stay here for a little bit. We are going to get to shoot, though, because the Inceptors have pistol weapons. And everybody's got, most of them have some kind of pistol, but the Inceptors have, their bolters are actually pistols. So here I lined up some shots from both the Eradicators and the Speeder on these guys. DJ's only got 1 model visible, but it's the only one that's on the objective. So he's going to have to let me keep shooting me. He can pull that model first, or... but if he does that, he loses the objective. So let's see what he wants me to do there. And then the Gladiator Lancer is just going to stay here and probably just shoot these guys in the face, because that's the only thing he really can do. So that's it. On to my shoots. So after all my shoots, I didn't do anything here.
Nope. I did something there.
But I got punched. I did do something over here. The Purifiers and Crow are gone due to a combination of shooting and fighting.
Purifiers died to the shooting first.
And then over here, I only picked up 3 of these guys, so DJ
2.
still has it. Or 2, yeah. 2. So DJ still has it.
And I don't have to battle shock.
The DJ's all right on primaries. What did I don't even remember what my secondaries were. Oh, Storm and Overwhelming Force. I scored neither of them because you weren't touching this objective. Is that correct?
That's correct. Nope.
So, okay, I scored nothing on primaries. You know what that means? Command point for me, because I'm going to discard.
Ooh, what you going to discard? Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, come back. You'll have to tune in. Stay tuned in to find out which one I'm discarding.
All right, Lane's definitely got a lead, but I still have some resources. We got some tough targets over here with these 3 wound T6 guys. We'll see if we can't crack them a little bit. So for my turn, I got behind enemy lines, as well as secured no man's land, which actually is really, really good for this time period. The Terminators are still going to ding this objective here, so I'll be able to hold this one, as well as the one way, way down there with the Interceptors, who now just put themselves in a better position, hiding completely behind the wall to give me those 2 objectives for secure no man's land. Over here, we're going to try and bring the fight to Lane. So we moved up, Lane overwatched, and picked up the rest of my little servitors, not the Beltas, I still have those, and did 1 wound to a Strike Marine. These guys just moved up, got themselves within 8 inches, so they can try and charge into the these last Plasma Interceptors. And over here, we have our Terminators, which moved up and got an angle. I'll be able to put, like, I'll probably get those 3. I think the 3 will have range and line of sight on them. So that's where we're standing right now, literally. And we'll come back after some shooting and get into the charges, where its real damage is going to matter. Alrighty, so finishing off the turn, this was kind of a quick one. There wasn't really a lot in the shooting phase, as everything that went into the Plasma Interceptors failed. Over here, though, we were able to get some shots in there and finish off one of the kill teams, leaving just the captain left alive. Then we charged in here, beat up some of the kill team, and the kill team answered back in spades, hurting us too. So there was a definite fight there. I got better close. I got stronger close combat weapons by the volume, but those fists, man, they can wreck and they hit. These guys landed their 8-inch charge and were able to take out the plasma inceptors, which was awesome. And yeah, that's going to finish my turn. So I will get a 10 on secondary. And Lane's only going to get this 6 back here on primary for this turn. It's still a big 6, though. So, all right, let's kick it over to Lane, and Lane's turn 4.
Not much to speak of here. Didn't have a whole lot of movement to do, so I just oathed these guys here. I did pull Assassinate as one of my secondaries, so I'm going to try to kill this Tech Marine. Won't be easy. Then next, I moved my speeder around here to take some shots at these guys, hoping to blast them off and deny DJ some primaries. And then, yeah, that's it. That's it. Just going to do some shooting. Can shoot them in the face a little bit, and then we'll do one charge with the captain. Captain's going to get heroic and try and wreck some guys. Not a lot of action on my score or my turn. I almost killed this Tech Marine because I chose to pop off my precision army ability, but he's still got 1 wound left, so no score on assassination and no score on investigate signals. The speeder got around here, killed one of these guys and made the charge. The speeder is OC3, so I do take that one because the interceptors are only OC1, so I do take that objective there, but that doesn't really score me any points, just denies DJ a few. So I'm blanked for a second turn in a row in secondaries. That's pretty much a game right there. I don't think there's much I can do about that, but we'll play out the last turn.
All right, so my secondary train kind of came to an end here. I got Cleanse and Area Denial. And since I didn't pick anything up because I wanted to kind of try and bring these Terminators over into the middle, I didn't really have anything for the Area Denial. So I kept Cleanse, discard Area Denial for a command point, and went into Extend Battle Lines, which sadly at this point in time, there is no way I was going to be able to do so. So we left the Terminators here for a Cleanse. I fell back. I'm going to get tricky with my Tech Marine. And then, yeah, stayed over here in combat and just kind of fought it out with the captain and stuff. And got 1 dude left. We were able to hold these guys at least on the table so they're not getting out their seat and jumping around. Over yonder, we were able to beat up the speeder a little more, and he did 1 wound back to us. He's got 5 wounds left. We might be able to take him. All right, so I only got 3 points for the turn on 1 Cleanse. And now we're going to go into Lane's final turn and then see how this plays out.
Not much movement, guys. There's it. Scooch these guys back because I got behind enemy lines. And I also got Assassination, which I held from the last one. Can't really move anywhere over here. So essentially what I'm going to do is these guys are going to fire their guns in and hopefully pick up this last guy here. And then I can charge in and hopefully wreck this. Get this character here, the Terminator for, or the Tech Marine
and the
Tech Marine for Assassinate. Let's see how I do. Okay, so my gambit paid off here. I had chosen the single remaining strike guy.
Yeah, strike. Dude.
Strike guy is my Oath of Moment and fired the Inceptors into him because they are pistols and was able to finish him off. I even spent the extra AP or the extra CP for the extra AP to make sure he died because that freed up both the captain and the skill team to charge the Tech Marine. And we were able to finish him off and score Assassinate and take back the objective because I scored my primaries at the end of the turn. And DJ was making fun of me because my speeder shot into these last 2 guys and I rolled poorly. So I re-rolled one of my hits for a CP. He's like, why would you do that? Because he almost killed my speeder. It's got 1 wound left. But it is OC3, so I do still hold this. So that makes our final score for the game. DeathWatch 67, Grey Knights 63. Incredibly close game. And this is one of those missions where it's tough to score on primary sometimes just because of the way it plays out. So it was definitely a very close game all the way through, guys. Follow us over to the post-game chat, and we'll tell you about how everything went.